today. When we stopped the bus last week, everybody was so focused on us versus tech, us versus them. You know what? That's too simple. What we are against is eviction.
In 1997, we were attacked when the dot-com industry came rolling through like a train wreck.
That's right.
And we fought the dot-com industry. And you know what? Our Creator and Father Sky took care of us. Mother Earth took care of us. And there was a bust of that bubble. And they were all gone after it all busted. But there was a lot of damage that was done. But now it's different. It's a high-tech, biotech, high-speed rail train that's coming through not only the Mission, but all of San Francisco. Look at the privileged people that get to have high-end executive buses roll through our neighborhoods. We will fight and continue to fight the evictions. Tell people not to move. We will not move. I've made that as a demand to the mayor and the board of supervisor. The city attorney already looked at that and basically said it would be illegal for the city to declare a state of emergency because it's a state law. Well, we say, fuck the state. You know what? San Francisco has always done what's best for San Francisco. We married gay people and it was illegal. We made San Francisco a sanctuary city and it was illegal. And we got sued by the state. We got sued by the federal government and we defended the city of San Francisco. And nationally, people followed what we did here in San Francisco.
That's right.
So today, we are going to tell the city that, you know what? Declare the state of emergency. Let the state of California sue us.
Exactly.
Bring it on, baby.
We are related to tech, and we want the ruling class, which is becoming the tech class, to listen to our voices and listen to the voices of folks being displaced from the Mission and throughout San Francisco.
Patricia Kerman. I live at 20th and Folsom, and I've been living there in a rent-controlled apartment for 27 years. At the time I moved in, people told me, aren't you afraid? The Mission's kind of scary. I grew up in Detroit, so I didn't agree with them. And the longer I lived there, the more I realized how warm the people were, how friendly, how real the people were, and how diverse and accepting. So I've been blessed to be living where I'm living. And now my landlord, because of all the money he wants to make, and because I would not take the buyout, he does not understand a roof over my head is more important than money in my pocket. My neighbors, my friends, my community is more important than dollars. So I'm basically a quiet person, but I'm stepping up, I'm speaking out, I'm showing my face because I'm on a limited income. When I have to leave my home, I don't know where I'm going to go. And there are so many people in my situation that it breaks my heart. And I love San Francisco. I love the diversity, the community, the fact that we take action against injustice. And when we remove the people, we do not look. We no longer live in the city of St. Francis.
Hello, Mission! I am once again proud of the mission that stands for what is right. What is happening in San Francisco is wrong. Wrong, wrong. And we have the responsibility to speak out and denounce it. If nothing else, it shows that not everyone is taking this line down. When a city becomes the playground of speculators and 80-year-old people are thrown out in the street for no other reason than greed, what kind of a society allows for the sick, elderly, and lowest income people to be displaced overnight without offering a safety net? A city is made up of all different types of people. That is what makes a city cosmopolitan. Yeah. We not only accept each other's differences, but we thrive in the diversity of our communities. Yeah. And that includes economic disparity as well. Yeah. A city is made up of people of different income brackets. A city thrives because it's made up of immigrants, artists, entrepreneurs, and small and big business people. Yeah. If you want homogeneous, go to the suburbs. Our actions, such as the one here this morning, are critical to saving the spirit, not only of our beloved Mission District, but also our acclaimed and renowned city, San Francisco. What is a city without people of all walks of life? Since when do only millionaires have the right to live in this country's great cities? We have become a complacent society that does not question the obscenity of pricing from a cup of coffee to a studio apartment, but rather we are made to feel obligated to step up and make the money to partake in this madness. This is why it is so important to stand up and put enormous pressure on the politicians to stop bulldozing over the people of the city. We have spin out of control. The citizens of San Francisco are either losing their small businesses, their homes, or they live with the fear of being the next one to lose their living arrangements. That is living in a state of war. This level of displacement creates a general sense of instability that is emotionally affecting all of our communities, but none more than our vibrant Mission District. Mayor Lee, you must declare a state of emergency and put a moratorium on all evictions now. It is not only the human thing to do, but it is also critical to the economic stability of the city. A city is made up of communities, and communities are made up of people that interact with each other, weaving a network that is rooted in trust. That is not possible overnight. When you break that network, you destroy the essence of that community, and the city suffers for it. I am a small business owner, and the only way I can pay the licenses, paywall, workers' comp, insurance, services, inventory, taxes, and the long list of bills I pay monthly is if I live in a rent control apartment. A small business like mine requires that the owner work 24/7 and still barely pay the business bills without much left in terms of a salary to pay personal bills. Last February, that's 10 months ago, the eviction. My first instinct was to sell everything I own, including my small business Chile Lindo, and walk away from everything I've worked towards for years. So many people think that gentrification is good for business. It is not. It is not good for business when your community is displaced. Your community is the one that supports your business. As someone that is going through this, I cannot tell you how disconcerting it is. You don't know whether you're coming or going. You become completely dysfunctional, wondering where you put a lifetime of memories and belonging. You go out into the rental market and no one will consider you as a tenant. I applied at a few real estate companies and they didn't even call me back. You're not the tenant today's market is looking for. We have to continue doing what we're doing here today. We have to organize organize and find a way to make demands and see how we can channel the resources to the people that need the most. We have to work with the politicians, the tech companies, and the community organizations to find a way to make this chaos into an opportunity. It's now. We're in a position to make demands. We must find a way to create a dialogue because this is not going away. Gentrification is here, like it or not. So we have to work with it and make something of it. I felt betrayed. Here's the neighborhood I helped create with so much love and so many people. And now, our existence is completely unimportant. Thank you, Mission District.
Say that I'm kind of a tech worker. I'm a reporter for Techcrunch, which is a technology media outlet partly based in San Francisco.
And what's your name?
Greg Ferenstein.
And Greg, what is it like trying to survive in San Francisco as a tech worker or a reporter on the tech industry?
I think rents are very high. Everything is very expensive. It's not easy for sure.
And
but don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I mean, a lot of people have it a lot worse than me.
And the situation of reporters, independent contractors, freelancers, is this an issue as far as ability to live decently or have a decent life?
Well, I mean, look, for the first 3 years of my career, I basically worked for free and I slept on a floor. That's the nature of the industry, and there's not a good way to monetize content. So it's something the industry needs to figure out, or there won't be one.
And are there a lot of people in your situation in the industry?
Well, so I'm a staff writer now, so I have it a little bit better. But previously, oh yeah, I think the average freelancer, makes something like $20,000 a year, and for me, that was probably a good year.
And how do you survive in San Francisco on that?
Well, you have another job, and I didn't live in San Francisco. I mean, you moved to the East Bay, but even that's they will now. No, I mean, it is not easy to do. I wish I understood the solutions. I'm not an economist. I don't know if a minimum wage works. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to save it. You have to save a dying industry, and that will take some very smart thinking.
And gentrification, it seems like a lot of people here, working class, poor people, even people who are making decent money, are not able to live in the Inner Bay Area anymore.
That's again. I came here a year ago, so I'm probably part of that process. But I didn't know. I was just looking for a house, and it opened up. A lot of it, I think, is just unintentional. Like I moved into San Francisco. It took me 3 months to find a place. Something opened up, and then I learned about all this in the new neighborhood.
And there, as you say, there are tech workers here who are struggling themselves.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, there are people who are making a lot of money here. Do you think that contradiction is going to grow?
I think inequality generally is going to grow indefinitely because technology inherently creates inequality. The question is whether technology can also create prosperity for some of the people at the lower end of the income distribution. My hope is it does.
Well, it used to be said that technology would free people up. You'd have a shorter work week. It would make things better for the majority of people. You're saying that really is not the case.
Oh no, that's completely false. Technology, we will be working, I think, longer hours and more, and we will be making less. The question is if we have more stuff. We have washers and better cancer treatments and more leisure time when we need it. And so in some cases, technology raises the prosperity level, but in other cases, it greatly widens inequality, and you just have to choose what you want more.
Well, isn't that going to create a social crisis if more and more people are marginalized as a result of technology?
Not necessarily.
You don't see any great problems with that?
Well, I don't see any problems with inequality inherently. I see problems with a lack of prosperity and a lack of things that people need to make their life good.
So Aaron, you were here this morning, 24th in Valencia.
But what we are trying to say is that there is an upper class that is growing in the Mission and in San Francisco, largely occupied by tech workers, and because of that, a particular market has been created that leads to the displacement of San Francisco longtime residents. We're seeing a disproportionate number of folks with disabilities and seniors being kicked out of their homes, losing rent control. We're seeing a huge loss of rent control in the city, and we're not trying to blame every single tech worker for that, but we're looking at the relationship between this growing industry and the displacement of longtime San Franciscans.
Are you surprised that they weren't ticketing buses for using the bus zone I mean, apparently it's a fine. It's only for buses to park there.
Yeah, well, anytime anybody parks in a public bus stop, there's a $271 fine, and we've actually calculated that over the last few years, tech companies in general would owe the city $1 billion for violating that fine. And we think that, you know, there's a reason why tech buses aren't being ticketed and aren't being made to pay, and I think it's the same reason why Twitter's been given a huge tax break. I think that the city really values certain people and certain industry over others, and that's what we're trying to bring light to.
Well, Mayor Ed Lee says these tech companies are bringing money to San Francisco, making San Francisco a better city with all this investment. You don't agree?
I think it's better for some people. It's better for people who have money. I don't think it's necessarily better for people who are being kicked out of their homes every day. We've seen Ellis Act evictions up 170% in the last 12 months alone. That is unprecedented in the city, and I think it's directly correlated to the increase of people who can afford, you know, to pay like $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment.
And what could the city do to stop the evictions?
It could put a moratorium on all no-fault evictions. I think it could work with other coalitions throughout the state to reform or to repeal the Ellis Act in Sacramento. They'll be the two things that I would press for most strongly.
What is the role of developers and tech companies and the politicians? It seems like the politicians are voting for more tax subsidies for these tech companies, and the legislature, which is controlled by Democrats, passed the Ellis Act, which allows more evictions.
I mean, I think that there is, obviously a very imbricated, complicated system of money that I think, you know, all political parties, well, Democratic and Republican politicians are at least part of in colluding to make money to push certain industry up. And I think that maybe while they might not explicitly be trying to kick other folks and other businesses out, that's the effect that it's having, and that's why we're here, because we can see that effect on the street level, and we want them to see it, and we want them to hear the voices of people being displaced and losing their homes every day. I think that if we want affordable housing in San Francisco, we need to preserve the rent control units that we already have, and every time an Ellis Act is enacted, we lose that rent controlled unit. Anytime a building is demolished, we lose rent control. We're seeing loss of rent control skyrocket. Yeah, and that's where I think pressure should be put. I don't think it's all about building new housing or even building new affordable housing. While I would rather, if new housing's be built, that it be built affordably, I think that we can preserve the housing that we already have.
How much do you pay in rent a month?
I pay $635 every month right now.
Is it rent controlled?
It is not rent controlled.
Are you worried about being evicted?
I'm always worried about being evicted. Yeah.
You think that's the reason a lot of people are here today?
I think so. I mean, I can name at least half the people here who have been evicted. Most of my friends and community have been evicted. When I first moved to the city about a decade ago, I had a lot of friends who lived in San Francisco who moved here for certain reasons. I'm queer. I needed particular healthcare systems, a healthcare system that only San Francisco provided. A lot of my friends who are queer and trans also came to the city for that particular healthcare system. I've seen a lot of them have to move to the East Bay and other places where they can't access vital healthcare. There are so many folks in the Castro right now who are HIV positive or who have been fighting AIDS for years, who have particular doctors in San Francisco that are being kicked out, and they can't afford to live in San Francisco anymore. And we're seeing this in the case of so many folks in the Castro, but also throughout the city. I mean, there is a reason why people have come to San Francisco, and obviously there's also a reason why people who have been born in San Francisco and who are native to San Francisco want to stay. And I think that we need to privilege those voices more than any voices. But I think that what we're seeing with this kind of new class of people coming in is that they're very disconnected from the fabric of San Francisco, and they are participating in a political economy that is leading to the displacement of people who have come here long ago.
You think there are going to be more demonstrations like this?
I hope so. I hope so.
Beneto Santiago, born and raised in San Francisco.
And are you a member of the United Education?
Yes, I am. San Francisco Unified School District.
So you're a school worker?
Okay. I'm taking off work for this. I got an okay from my key teacher to come in a little bit later. So
How long have you been a member of the union?
Since 1999.
And what role do you think the union should play? I mean, many of the union members can't afford to live in San Francisco anymore.
This is true. We got a lot of people that have to come in from Richmond and the Greater East Bay. That they're coming here for work. You know, so I was born and raised here. My mission is to continue to live here and be recycled here. That's my mission.
So you believe that
hopefully my co-workers can live and work in the same place, so they can have an investment in our city rather than just coming in from the outside, because they don't have jobs outside there.
So what is the situation of most workers, education workers, teachers? Are they able to live in San Francisco?
There's some teachers that are, I heard there's one teacher that's homeless.
A San Francisco teacher is homeless.
I mean, I'm not going to say any names.
Yeah.
There's one teacher that's homeless, and we got paraprofessionals with families that have been challenged to get out because of this Ellis Act. Families, and then we got teachers, and I'm a paraprofessional.
We're like, all right, we're going.
And
what's your salary? What's your average salary?
My average salary is, I mean, my take home is like 700 something twice a month.
So $1,400 a month is your take home.
Yeah, and so like one half of that, I mean, one paycheck is to the rent. It's $600 rounded off what I'm paying, and then the rest is cost of living. And then again, what I understand, my neighbors are paying $1,400, $1,800 for the same apartment. It's a Victorian, 4 units, in the Bush Triangle. And then it got some other paraprofessionals. Their neighbors are paying $2,400 for a 1-bedroom. And then our landlady that sold the unit for 1.2 this corporation, they're stating they're going to boost our status up from 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, so they're going to boost it up to easily like 3,000 plus 4,000. Bye. But I'm banking on, because I'm a senior citizen at age 63 and with a permanent disability as a result of being hit by a car back in 1980 as a pedestrian, been living with it, that I'm hoping that I have, rather than 120 days to get out, which I just got the notice, that hopefully I get a 1-year extension to get out. And with that, the money that they offered me, it's not going to last maybe a half a year. You know what I'm saying? With the rent that's being charged now, even for a studio at $1,300. You can hear what I'm saying. Dude, I mean, I might be a little slow at basic math, but I know that much. I'm taking home like $700 twice a month. And the rent is studio for $1,300 plus $1,400. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've been a starving artist before this as a dancer and a drummer, and I continue to do that in my life. But it would be nice to have. I thought I had security when I joined the San Francisco Unified School District as a paraprofessional, rather than having to hustle for dance students to pay my rent.
What should the union do about it? The unions in San Francisco have power, the teachers union, the city workers union. I mean, should the union be demanding that there be housing for workers, even their own members? It seems like that's a crucial...
That's my vote. I'm hoping that our leaders in the union can give a voice to the whole. I mean, they are a spokesperson. They are representing us. Hopefully, they will come together when we have a meeting, which we do on occasion, and bring this up. Take a tally of who's being affected by this. From my understanding, not just renters are being affected. When I went to Eric Ma's District 1 meeting a couple Wednesdays, about 2 weeks ago, I heard that homeowners are being foreclosed, being bought out, and families are being displaced. I thought it was only renters, but families are being displaced. People have been living there for 35 years. 35 years. They got, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of Mayor Ed Lee's response to this situation with evictions?
I heard Mayor Lee said, don't blame the techies, don't blame the techs.
Right.
But what he's not saying is that he's supporting the tech. Basically, that's what he's telling me. So he's supporting the techs, and he's not supporting the frontline people that support the techs. From my understanding, they have corporate tax-free. All the buildings over here on the Bush Triangle where I'm at, it's a high-rise of beautiful buildings. From my understanding, they're corporate tax-free. where we are paying the taxes. And with the San Francisco Unified School District, UESF, we have yet to get a raise in our paycheck for about at least a couple of years now. And I know this much, I might be a little slow at basic math, but I might save $1 and spend $10. I might save $10 and spend $100, but do the math. 1 step forward, 10 steps back, I'm going to be homeless, bottom line. I don't know what I'm going to do after this, but my quest is, and your name is? Steve. My quest is, hopefully I get that 1-year extension as a senior citizen with a permanent disability, rather than 120 days. And when that happens, when I do get evicted, because I'm going to be evicted, that from my understanding, they will not be able to turn our 151 DuBose 4-unit apartment into condominiums if they evict a senior citizen with disability. It will never be a condominium. And so if I'm going to go down, I'm going to let them pay. And what I heard in the news, when a 90-year-old lady was pleading to not be evicted, the response from the corporation was, well, that's business. I mean, what does that say? It's like robots versus humans. It's mechanical. What happened to the spirit? I mean, at some point, they had a family. They came from a family. They had a mother. They had a father. Imagine if their mother and father, grandmother, grandfather, and grandchildren were evicted. Put the shoe on the other foot. You see what I'm saying? They're people. Bottom line is people.
My name's Ted Gullickson, and I'm here because there's so many evictions happening in San Francisco right now, and we need to stop them.
Are you surprised that the city is allowing these tech buses to park in bus zones and not ticketing them?
Absolutely. They should be ticketing them or come to an agreement with them where they pay the city lots of money to help fund Muni.
So who's behind this epidemic of evictions?
There's many real estate speculators, many of them from out of town, who are just preying on rent-controlled housing and tenants, and they're buying up buildings in order to sell the units to tech workers.
And what is the relationship of these speculators to the city government, the politicians?
Well, politicians have been letting them get away with it for years, and so they've been running free and unrestrained, and the city government needs to do more to stop them.
Well, the mayor says the Ellis Act prevents them taking action to stop these evictions. What is the solution to stop the evictions or prevent these massive evictions?
Well, the mayor needs to pull out all the stops to get the Ellis Act repealed, but in the meantime, you know, we've done illegal stuff in the past. We married gay people when it was illegal. We set up a sanctuary city when it was illegal. We can say no Ellis Act evictions even if that's illegal.
And how many people are being removed from their homes?
It's in the thousands.
Do you think that this is an emergency situation?
Oh, definitely. It's a crisis right now. We're losing the soul of San Francisco.
And these companies seem to be getting tax subsidies and other encouragement to develop here. What do you think about those?
I think that's what caused the whole problem to begin with, because that brought in like high-paid tech workers from all across the country living in San Francisco, plus the ones that are being bussed down to Silicon Valley. So it's a big, big problem, and we need to address it. We need to make sure that those companies that are bringing in those tech workers provide housing for them and not expect to cannibalize the city's rent-controlled housing.
What is the situation in San Francisco for working-class housing for regular people who work in San Francisco?
There virtually is none. There's very little affordable housing being built in San Francisco. It's all luxury condos.
Is that gentrification?
That's called gentrification.
And what should be done as far as housing for working people who work and live in San Francisco, or want to live in San Francisco?
I think we need to just stop all luxury construction and say nothing else is being built in San Francisco right now except for affordable housing.
And who's pushing that within the city government?
Nobody.
Do you think that this movement here will force some people to say that more working class housing has to be constructed?
I think they'll eventually come to that because they're beginning to learn that the people in San Francisco are getting pretty angry.
And the defeat of 8 Washington Square, were you surprised by that?
I expected it to lose, but the margin that it lost by, the 2-to-1 margin, really showed that San Francisco is pretty sick with luxury condo developments.
What do you think about the stadium project?
It's got luxury condos attached to it, so it doesn't look good for the future of that.
Well, the developer is saying he can't build a stadium unless they're luxury condos.
Well, I think the political reality is he can't build a stadium if it has luxury condos with it.
So you think your advice to him is to get rid of the luxury condos?
Get rid of the luxury condos.
Why haven't any supervisors introduced a resolution against this kind of development?
I don't know, you know, I think they're just beginning to learn right now that, as I said, people are pretty angry in San Francisco right now because in the past years the supervisors have supported all these developments. If you recall, 8 Washington was approved by the Board of Supervisors, but now some of them are beginning to change their tune.
Now, your organization helps people who are being evicted. What response have you seen from the people who are threatening with evictions?
Well, I think the biggest...
What's your organization?
San Francisco Tenants Union. I think the biggest thing we see is how much of a climate of fear is out there, that tenants have seen how high the rents have climbed and have seen how the evictions are happening, and pretty much everybody knows at least one person being evicted. So everyone's living in fear that their eviction is next, and with the rent so high there's nowhere to go but out of San Francisco or onto the streets.
So people are being terrorized?
People are essentially being terrorized, yeah.
So that's what's bringing people out here? You think that's what's causing this?
I think that's what's causing all the anger and all that. There's a lot of anxiety out there and people just feel a need to do something about it.
You think it's going to grow?
I think it's definitely going to grow. It's been growing exponentially for the last couple of months.
Evicted by way of the Ellis Act, which is merely speculatory, and the only thing that they care about is the money. That's all they care about is money and profit.
Eviction, it's injustice. I mean, you can't just kick somebody out of their home. We're all citizens. I mean, we're all Americans. We're all San Franciscans, and the people that they're evicting are people that make San Francisco, San Francisco. It's not fair, it's not just, and I'm here to protest it.
Well, the mayor says that these companies, tech companies, are bringing in a lot of money to San Francisco. It's going to benefit the people. You don't agree with that?
Well, I think it does benefit. It does, of course, with two things. You know, when something new company comes in, you do get great revenue. You do get a tech boom. You do get new jobs. You do get all those things. But at the same time, there is the downside. You know, you are creating space for a company. So with that comes the downfall of actually displacing a lot of the normal companies that were already here before.
And I live in the Mission for the last 17 years, and I run a business at 24th and Mission.
And while you're out here today, what's going on?
Well, actually, I was just dropping my car off at the gas station to get fixed, but I am very much concerned about what's going on in the Mission, and so I joined the protest to actually stop the Google bus from using our public bus stops.
Well, some people say Google's bringing money, the tech companies are bringing money to San Francisco, it's helping people out.
Well, I think that actually the opposite is happening. I think they're clearing out San Francisco to make a bedroom community for Silicon Valley. It's actually happening. The people that are running all the tech industry along with the city officials are being very effective in actually destroying not only the Mission, which has been a hub of activism and immigrants and artists, a very particular kind of people have lived here and have developed a worldview that's completely important. They're pulling that apart, and they're actually pulling apart all the residences around the whole entire San Francisco area.
And who does Mayor Ed Lee represent and the politicians? Because apparently they're giving them tax subsidies like Twitter.
Well, I think that was really the beginning. I think all of the Board of Supervisors actually voted for the Twitter, for the Twitter not to have to pay the sales tax, or the, I can't remember which tax it was, but one of the taxes, and that was kind of the beginning of everything. And it's actually quite appalling that a billionaire corporation doesn't have to pay payroll taxes, and the rest of us are paying exorbitant fees just to live in the city at this point.
Now, the police were asked why they're not ticketing these buses, Google and Apple, and apparently that they have the right to use the bus zones to do their business. Do you think something's wrong that's going on?
Well, I think that's clearly an inside deal was made with the tech industry and the city government to allow them to use our public services in order to mastermind their takeover of the city, and also keep making enormous profits for all the tech industry down in Silicon Valley.
Now also, they're talking about raising a sales tax and other taxes on regular people to pay for more transit. What's your view on that?
Well, I think that's appalling. I think actually what's happening is much bigger than what's just happening in San Francisco. I think there's a real effort to actually destroy what's left of the consciousness that comes out of the Bay Area, which is a very strong consciousness for civil liberties and human rights, and we're kind of one of the last beacons of that between us and the demise of our government and the spying and the NSA and all that goes on. So I really think it's actually a very big maneuver that's happening to destroy the kind of worldview that comes out of the Bay Area.
When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? Stop the eviction. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Stop the eviction.
When do we want it?
Now.